Hi. This week, again, it's a lovely progression from last week. And last week, I didn't really want to disturb the flow of what was shared, but there was an extra element there that is worth sharing. I almost made a separate little video midweek to actually share with you. And since then, I actually was lucky enough to watch a production that my son had put together at the school that he's at, and I always love going to those productions because the way everyone comes together and goes to rehearsals, whether they feel like it or not, still perform on their evenings, whether they feel like it or not, because everyone has an up and down feeling, but to turn up anyway. And how that as a teamwork and the excitement of being of service to each other so that the best can show up is always extraordinarily exciting for me, because I feel if that is possible in a play, in coming together, the world is fine. We too can do that. So one of the beings that I actually saw last, not the weekend just gone, but the one before, has a rather responsible position of pulling the team together. And a lot of the work nowadays is understaffed and underpaid. So to enroll these beings when they're already feeling not so great, it is the job that they can get, and it does contribute to their families and welfare and all that sort of stuff. But there's a tendency sometimes to actually hold back a bit, or to feel being taken advantage of, or whatever, which leads to sick leave, etc., not turning up, all that sort of stuff, where in a play you just see all of that coming together with great joy of being there with each other and what comes out of it, and it was brilliant. So this being trying to get all these people together, it ends up being like they feel slightly told off, or why wasn't that put away? And it'd be like, well, it's not my job. Yeah, but sometimes people fall over those things, but it's not my job. How is that dialogue possible in being turned around? And what really showed up was enormous disheartened in wanting the best and seeing the possibility, but feeling you haven't got the team with you. And it came up rather simply to elicit a sense of being of service, to actually be able to say certain behaviours, how does that serve us? Because she's of such great service and care and insight and fully engaged, that to have others who aren't wears you down. It literally wears you down to the point where you feel, I don't know whether I can keep going or not. But this sense of the delight of being of service, we can actually not avoid being of service, whether you know it or not. When we, regardless of what we do, the interaction is with someone else, and even the sick and disabled are of great service for others to have a sense of who they are in relation to that. It's always of service. You cannot avoid it. But to be aware of it, the contribution of the thoughts we put out and the energy in the world, that too is of great service. So the gentle tone of how does that serve us is such an invitation to be of service. The ultimate joy in this life is to be of service. So this weekend, someone who came and saw me is actually of great service. She's a shaman of sorts, really. She's got so many healing modalities. It's like she's got a truckload of capacity in her interaction with those she sees. Her inquiry is always on the edge, wanting to know what's coming. It used to be what's coming, what's the next thing that's on the horizon to come into being, and wanting to know it before it even arrives. And this time, it showed a different version of that, because that's old stuff, that's in the past, that's really already understood. So this time, her beingness, and in her service to others, she was attempting to listen, if that's an ear, to listen to the beyond, thinking there's always more she can do, always more she can offer. And that can be a trap, because the biofield that we have in connection to all and the unity of all, it comes, and the listening, the ear is, that's a shocking ear, but the ear is the ability to hear it come into presence right in the center. In kinesiology, there's a modality where to be in this spot is the ideal. Heaven and earth, above and below, to be in the presence, in the being of it, is where the balance and the biggest insight of what is present and meeting both sides right in there. So the peace that was felt when it came more into the center. And in that center, there is this continuous process of becoming. We always, there's this focus on, oh my God, you've changed, or you need to change this, or you need to change that. For years now, I've not seen it as change. I see it as a becoming, that sense of becoming every day. What is it that has entered in that is a process of becoming? And at the end of the day, it may go, gosh, that brought a lot of change. No, it was a process of being present, and in the present, moving forward, this becoming shows up, this eternal sense of becoming. So that was followed pretty much by what has been discussed before, where, remember, we had this perfection here, and those with perfection very often focus on what's not perfect. And the flow on from that this week was a being that came who, in actually coming into the physicality here, had completed so much that he came with a sense of completion. So it's like tick, tick. But in that, the mind had a sense of, or there was an energy of, oh gosh, this completeness is boring. The mind has to do something. And what had happened was this creation of battles, battle after battle after battle, and it wasn't understood what the heck are these battles about, because in the living, none of these battles ever show up. But this continuous battle had caused incredible tension in the body. And what was discovered in this process was that the battles were really quite boring in their own right, because they never led anywhere. It never became anything. There was nothing that came out of it other than attention. And in seeing the pattern and recognizing the pattern and the wholeness, the shift came more into visioning, using that visioning, not in the structure of the mind, wanting to be more. It was more in, now that I'm here, what else can come into my life? What other surprises, what other ways of seeing can my life enter into? Which is fully embracing the going forward. So the other pattern that followed on from this was actually quite magical, because it is magical. This is very much, you know, that process of manifestation, which has become such a stale word. There's something dead about manifesting, because it can become material, and if it's material, it kind of doesn't work in that way. But when it has a genuine engagement of looking ahead and seeing how you want to live life, and the joy of certain elements that then come into being when you stay focused on what that joy is, then it has an aliveness to it. And this being, it's in all the things that were coming into her life, left like impossibilities, kind of things you go, how on earth is that going to fall into place? And it continually does. And more than that, the joy that others have of serving this being gives her gifts over and over and over. Like, she'll go to lunch somewhere and somebody will just come up to her and say, I'd like to pay for your meal, or I've already paid for that. And it happens a lot in her life. But the interesting thing is that was so normal. It just became like, yeah, well, that happens, but I'm still concerned about X, Y, and Z over here. And the focus then being taken away from all that's happening on a continual basis, and her life is just becoming more and more and more, and the becoming of it is so delightful to see, because things have fallen into place over the last year in ways that could not have been foreseen or imagined. But I find it interesting that when so much is happening and moving forward in life, we can still take it away by focusing on, oh yeah, but I lost that. And to be able to stay present in what is present now, and to move forward with the creation of that which you see and you can move into. And it is that seeing it, you're already in your presence now. Just walk towards it, and there it is. And then you keep walking towards it, and there it is, but it's always present. So the two cards that came up this week are focus and now, which is very apt and fitting. So I'll read the focus first. You create more of whatever you focus on. Be aware of where your thoughts take you, for this is where you are focusing your energy, and this energy flows to turn your thoughts into realities. Focusing does not mean narrowing down your vision, but rather of widening your awareness in the unity of all, whilst being sure of where it is that you're walking, because you feel it within yourself now. So then it goes to now. Live now, be now, acknowledge now. Now is the only time you need to consider. Unchain yourself from the past, unravel yourself from the future. You are here in this now moment, enjoy it. Is there something to be done? Stop dreaming and move into it now. Quite a magical week. Enjoy.